Have you ever found yourself feeling like a lost traveler in a vast, parched desert, desperately searching for a single life-giving source of fresh water, a cool oasis that promises to quench an unrelenting thirst? Or perhaps, amidst the profound, bewildering darkness that sometimes surrounds us, you've yearned, truly yearned, for just one guiding light, a steadfast beacon to illuminate your path forward, cutting through the shadows of uncertainty and doubt. In a world saturated with constant, restless searching, a searching often fueled by the gnawing anxiety of countless unanswered questions, by the relentless pressure to perform, to acquire, to achieve, where, my dear friend, can we truly, unequivocally find our unwavering refuge? Where is that sanctuary for the soul, that quiet harbor in the storm? We live in a time where distractions are abundant, where the clamor of countless voices promises fleeting satisfaction, where temporary solutions often leave us feeling even more parched than before. We chase after goals, after possessions, after approval, believing that these external achievements will somehow fill an inner void. But how often do these pursuits, despite their initial allure, leave us feeling ultimately empty, adrift, still searching for something more, something deeper, something that truly resonates with the core of our being? That feeling, that persistent, subtle ache of unfulfillment, is a testament to a deeper spiritual hunger, a longing that no fleeting pleasure or material gain can ever truly satisfy. It speaks to a fundamental need for grounding, for an anchor in a tumultuous sea of experiences. Today I want to invite you on a journey, an expedition not to a distant land but into an ancient text, a sacred scroll that has whispered timeless truths across millennia. We are going to unearth what feels like a forgotten map, a millennial text that, instead of simply handing us ready-made answers, extends a profound personal invitation, an invitation to experience the very source itself. This isn't about intellectual understanding alone. It's about a deep, resonant encounter that speaks directly to your spirit. The Salmo 36 is far more than just a lyrical song, a collection of poetic verses. It stands as a powerful, living revelation of an unwavering love, a life that perpetually overflows with grace and purpose, and a light that absolutely never ever fades. Consider this: an unwavering love. What would it mean to truly know a love that is constant, unconditional, utterly dependable? A love that sees beyond your flaws and embraces you fully. Imagine a life that perpetually overflows, not with material riches, but with a richness of spirit, a vitality, a resilience, and a joy that runs deeper than circumstances. And envision a light that never fades, a source of illumination that cuts through all confusion, reveals the deepest truths, guides your steps even in the densest fog, and ultimately brings about a profound self-discovery. This psalm holds the key to these very promises. But what precisely makes this particular psalm so incredibly powerful, so resonant across millennia, so uniquely suited to address the deep longings of the human heart today? Why has it endured, continuing to speak with such authority and comfort to generation after generation? It is because within its verses lies a direct conduit to the divine, a spiritual pathway that connects our temporal anxieties with eternal assurances. It confronts the darkness head-on, not by ignoring it, but by presenting an infinitely greater light. And perhaps even more importantly, my friend, how can its timeless, transformative message fundamentally redefine your own inner light, altering your perspective, mending your spirit, and renewing your purpose, allowing you to walk with a newfound peace and strength? Stay with me, because this journey will be much more than a mere explanation of ancient words. It will be an intimate invitation to truly feel the profound truths it conveys, to deeply reflect on its implications for your own life, and ultimately to rediscover that which is eternal within you, that divine spark waiting to be fully ignited. Prepare to encounter a wisdom that challenges, comforts, and empowers. This is a journey to the source of lasting peace and true understanding. We just spoke of a profound invitation, an invitation to experience the very source itself, to find that unwavering refuge, that light that never fades. But before we can truly appreciate the boundless grace, the overwhelming love and the guiding light that the psalm so beautifully reveals, we must first confront a fundamental human condition that often obscures our vision and misdirects our steps. This is a condition many of us grapple with, perhaps without even realizing its subtle influence: the anatomy of disconnection, what I like to call the empty echo. Psalm 36, in its opening verses, presents us with a striking, almost jarring contrast to the hope it ultimately offers. It begins with a stark observation. Transgression speaks to the wicked deep in their hearts. They have no fear of God before their eyes. Now let's pause here. This isn't merely a condemnation of the evil in others. No, my friend. This is a powerful, almost diagnostic insight into a state of being, a tragedy of the human spirit that can touch any one of us. Think of it not as a judgment, but as an anatomy of disconnection. It describes a life that somewhere along the way has lost its spiritual compass, a life that becomes so entangled in its own perceived wisdom, its own cleverness, its own rationalizations, that it eventually, subtly, even unconsciously deceives itself. Consider the phrase, "Transgression speaks to the wicked deep in their hearts." This isn't some external loud voice. It's often a whisper, an inner dialogue that justifies, excuses, minimizes. It's that subtle voice that tells us, "You're not so bad," even when our actions might contradict it. It's the persuasive narrative we construct for ourselves that absolves us of responsibility, that convinces us our choices are purely for our own good, even if they cause harm. This internal flattery, this deep-seated self-deception, is a powerful force that prevents us from seeing ourselves and our world with true clarity. It's a tragic state where one begins to believe one's own convenient fictions, building a life not on truth, but on the shifting sands of self-justification. And what does it mean to have no fear of God before their eyes? This isn't about being terrified of a punitive deity. Instead, it speaks to a profound lack of reverence, a missing sense of awe, a diminishing awareness of something greater than oneself. When this fear, this respectful acknowledgement of divine authority and cosmic order fades, so too does our inner ethical compass. We become the ultimate arbiters of right and wrong, designing our own moral codes based on convenience or immediate gratification. It's a dangerous freedom because without that transcendent reference point, we risk drifting aimlessly, confusing momentary pleasure with lasting joy, superficial success with genuine fulfillment. When we lose sight of God, we often begin to lose sight of ourselves, of our true purpose, of the profound dignity inherent in every human life. We start to believe that the universe revolves around our own desires, rather than recognizing our place within a grander, divinely orchestrated design. The psalm continues, speaking of those who flatter themselves too much to detect or hate their sin. This is the insidious trap of illusion. Imagine holding up a mirror that, instead of reflecting your true image, always showed you a slightly more flattering, slightly more perfect version of yourself. You might begin to believe that distorted reflection is the absolute truth, becoming incapable of seeing your own blemishes, your own imperfections, your own areas that need growth and repentance. This spiritual blindness is the inability to confront personal shortcomings, to acknowledge mistakes, or to genuinely recognize what truly constitutes evil, both within and without. It's a condition where darkness can be mistaken for light, where self-interest is rationalized as wisdom, and where a path of desolation is confidently walked as if it were the way to true prosperity. This is the tragedy of seeking satisfaction in dry wells, in broken cisterns that can hold no water, believing they are the source when in reality, they only deepen the thirst. So, my friend, this opening of Psalm 36 isn't meant to condemn, but to invite. It's an invitation to introspection, a gentle yet firm call to look inward. Where in our lives might we be flattering ourselves, perhaps unknowingly? Where has our own self-sufficiency led us down paths that, at first, seemed right, but ultimately ended in spiritual dead ends, leaving us feeling restless, unfulfilled, still searching? Recognizing this inner void, acknowledging this anatomy of disconnection, this subtle self-deception, is not a sign of weakness. It is, in fact, the most courageous first step. It is the essential prelude to finding the true life-giving source, to understanding the astonishing, expansive nature of God's love and justice that the psalm is about to reveal. Without first acknowledging the parched ground, how can we truly appreciate the living water? We just spoke of a profound invitation, an invitation to experience the very source itself, to find that unwavering refuge, that light that never fades. But before we can truly appreciate the boundless grace, the overwhelming love, and the guiding light that the psalm so beautifully reveals, we must first confront a fundamental human condition that often obscures our vision and misdirects our steps. This is a condition many of us grapple with, perhaps without even realizing its subtle influence. The anatomy of disconnection, what I like to call the empty echo. Psalm 36, in its opening verses, presents us with a striking, almost jarring contrast to the hope it ultimately offers. It begins with a stark observation. Transgression speaks to the wicked deep in their hearts. They have no fear of God before their eyes. Now let's pause here. This isn't merely a condemnation of the evil in others. No, my friend. This is a powerful, almost diagnostic insight into a state of being, a tragedy of the human spirit that can touch any one of us. Think of it not as a judgment, but as an anatomy of disconnection. It describes a life that somewhere along the way has lost its spiritual compass, a life that becomes so entangled in its own perceived wisdom, its own cleverness, its own rationalizations that it eventually subtly, even unconsciously, deceives itself. Consider the phrase, transgression speaks to the wicked deep in their hearts. This isn't some external loud voice. It's often a whisper, an inner dialogue that justifies, excuses, minimizes. It's that subtle voice that tells us, "You're not so bad," even when our actions might contradict it. It's the persuasive narrative we construct for ourselves that absolves us of responsibility, that convinces us our choices are purely for our own good, even if they cause harm. This internal flattery, this deep-seated self-deception, is a powerful force that prevents us from seeing ourselves and our world with true clarity. It's a tragic state where one begins to believe one's own convenient fictions, building a life not on truth, but on the shifting sands of self-justification. We become experts in rationalizing away the uncomfortable truths, in crafting narratives that preserve our self-image, even at the cost of genuine introspection. This internal monologue, unchecked and unchallenged, can lead us further and further away from reality, isolating us in a self-made illusion. And what does it truly mean to have no fear of God before their eyes? This isn't about being terrified of a punitive deity. Instead, it speaks to a profound lack of reverence, a missing sense of awe, a diminishing awareness of something greater than oneself, a transcendent reality that anchors all moral and spiritual truth. When this fear, this respectful acknowledgement of divine authority and cosmic order fades, so too does our inner ethical compass. We become the ultimate arbiters of right and wrong, designing our own moral codes based on convenience, on what feels good, or on immediate gratification. It's a dangerous freedom, because without that transcendent reference point, without an absolute standard beyond our own shifting desires, we risk drifting aimlessly, confusing momentary pleasure with lasting joy, superficial success with genuine fulfillment. When we lose sight of God, we often begin to lose sight of ourselves, of our true purpose, of the profound dignity inherent in every human life. We start to believe that the universe revolves solely around our own desires, rather than recognizing our humble yet vital place within a grander, divinely orchestrated design. This erosion of reverence strips away the very foundation of wisdom and true perspective. The psalm continues, speaking of those who flatter themselves too much to detect or hate their sin. This, my friend, is the insidious trap of illusion, the core of spiritual blindness. Imagine holding up a mirror, not to see what is truly there, but one that has been subtly distorted, meticulously crafted to always show you a slightly more flattering, a slightly more perfect, a slightly more justified version of yourself. You might, over time, begin to believe that this distorted reflection is the absolute truth of who you are, becoming utterly incapable of seeing your own blemishes, your own imperfections, your own areas that desperately need growth and repentance. This spiritual blindness is more than just ignorance. It is an active refusal to see, an inability to confront personal shortcomings, to acknowledge mistakes, or to genuinely recognize what truly constitutes evil, both within ourselves and in the world around us. It's a condition where darkness can be brazenly mistaken for light, where self-interest is eloquently rationalized as profound wisdom, and where a path of desolation is confidently walked as if it were the most direct route to true prosperity and happiness. This is the profound tragedy of seeking satisfaction in dry wells, in broken cisterns that can hold no water, yet believing, with unwavering conviction, that they are the only source available, when in reality, they only deepen the thirst, perpetuate the emptiness, and leave the soul ever more parched. It's the cycle of the empty echo, where our own desires bounce back to us, louder and louder, drowning out any true wisdom. This state of spiritual blindness leads us to search for life in places where life cannot be found. We chase fleeting pleasures, superficial achievements, and hollow validations, mistaking them for the profound sustenance our souls crave. We become adept at filling our lives with noise and activity, hoping to silence the quiet voice within that whispers of a deeper longing. We build towers of self-reliance, believing that our intellect, our strength, our resources are all we need. Yet, despite these efforts, a persistent undercurrent of unease, a gnawing dissatisfaction often remains. This is the empty echo of a life disconnected, a soul adrift, perpetually seeking but never truly finding that which truly satisfies. It's the realization that all the fleeting fountains of this world ultimately run dry, leaving us more desolate than before. So, my friend, this opening of Psalm 36 isn't meant to condemn, but to invite a profound moment of honest self-assessment. It's an invitation to introspection, a gentle yet firm call to look inward with courage and sincerity. Where in our lives might we be flattering ourselves, perhaps unknowingly, perhaps habitually? Where has our own self-sufficiency, our unwavering belief in our own capabilities, our own narratives, led us down paths that, at first, seemed undeniably right, perfectly logical, but ultimately ended in spiritual dead ends, leaving us feeling restless, unfulfilled, still searching for something more, something real? Recognizing this inner void, acknowledging this anatomy of disconnection, this subtle self-deception is not a sign of weakness. It is, in fact, the most courageous first step imaginable. It is the essential prelude to finding the true life-giving source, to understanding the astonishing, expansive nature of God's love and justice that the psalm is about to reveal. Without first acknowledging the parched ground, without admitting the ache of the empty echo, how can we truly appreciate, truly yearn for, and truly receive the living water that God so graciously offers? This self-awareness is the key that unlocks the door to a deeper truth. We've just explored the profound depths of human disconnection, that subtle self-deception and spiritual blindness that leaves us searching in vain, chasing the empty echo of a life adrift. We've acknowledged the parched ground, the relentless thirst that comes from seeking satisfaction in sources that always run dry. But now, my friend, prepare yourself for a dramatic, breathtaking shift in perspective. Just as the desert gives way to a magnificent mountain range, so too does Psalm 36 pivot, unveiling a landscape of divine truth so vast, so glorious, it demands our deepest attention. From the stark reality of human failing, the psalm lifts our gaze, almost abruptly, to the heavens. It declares, "Your steadfast love, O Lord, extends to the heavens, your faithfulness to the clouds. Your righteousness is like the mighty mountains, your judgments like the great deep." What a powerful, transformative declaration. This isn't just poetry, it's a profound statement about the very fabric of existence, a revelation of the columns of existence, an unveiling of what I call the divine architecture. It paints a picture of a God whose very being provides the ultimate antidote to every form of human disconnection and spiritual thirst. Let's first immerse ourselves in that magnificent phrase. Your steadfast love, O Lord, extends to the heavens, your faithfulness to the clouds. The original Hebrew word here for steadfast love is Hesed. This is no ordinary love, my friend. Hesed is more than mere affection or transient emotion. It's more than simple mercy or fleeting kindness. Hesed embodies a covenantal love, an unwavering commitment, a loyal, persistent, enduring goodness that refuses to let go. Imagine a love so profound, so utterly dependable, that it transcends all human fickleness, all our failures, all our moments of doubt. It's a love that is active, steadfast, and deeply personal, a commitment sworn not just in word, but in the very fiber of God's being. And this Hesed, this incredible loyal love, extends to the heavens and his faithfulness to the clouds. Picture the immensity of the sky, the endless expanse above us. This isn't a love confined by our earthly limitations, our small understandings, or our human capacity to give or receive. No, this love is cosmic in its scale, infinite in its reach. It means that wherever you are, no matter how far you feel you've strayed, no matter how deep your valley, this love, this Hesed is there, reaching out, overarching, holding you. It's a love that is constantly present, a backdrop to all of life. Much like the sky itself, and his faithfulness, it reaches to the clouds, ever present, ever reliable, a constant promise woven into the very atmosphere we breathe. In a world where promises are often broken, where loyalties can shift like sand, where even our closest relationships can sometimes falter, to encounter a faithfulness that reaches the clouds, a love that spans the heavens, is to find a bedrock for the soul. It's the ultimate security, the profound assurance that you are not forgotten, not abandoned, never out of reach of his unwavering commitment. This divine constancy stands in stark contrast to the fleeting, unstable foundations we often try to build our lives upon, offering a stability that the human heart desperately craves. But the psalm doesn't stop there. It continues to sketch out this grand, divine architecture, revealing more of God's character. Your righteousness is like the mighty mountains. Think of the mountains, my friend. They are ancient, towering, unmoving. They stand as symbols of strength, permanence, immutability. They are solid, unwavering landmarks against the shifting landscapes of time and change. This is what God's righteousness is like. It is not arbitrary. It is not dependent on whims or moods. It is not subjective, bending to the latest cultural trend or personal preference. No, God's righteousness is foundational, a bedrock truth upon which the moral universe rests. It represents perfect justice, absolute integrity, and an unblemished moral character that is as unyielding and majestic as the highest peaks. In a world that often feels chaotic, where justice can seem elusive, where what is right is constantly debated and redefined, the concept of a righteousness, like the mighty mountains, offers profound comfort. It means there is an inherent order, a moral compass that remains fixed regardless of the storms that rage below. It assures us that ultimately there is a right and a wrong, a truth that stands firm, and a God who upholds it. This truth provides a sense of ultimate fairness, a certainty that in the grand scheme of things, justice will prevail. It's a foundation that we can lean into, a principle by which we can orient our lives, knowing that we are aligning ourselves with something eternal and incorruptible. This mountain-like righteousness isn't a threat, it's a promise of stability and moral clarity, a guidepost in a morally ambiguous world. And then, the psalm adds another layer to this divine architecture. Your judgments are like the great deep. The deep ocean, my friend, is vast, mysterious, often unfathomable to the human eye. Its depths hold wonders and secrets beyond our full comprehension. Similarly, God's judgments are not simplistic, knee-jerk reactions, nor are they limited by our finite understanding. They are profound, wise, perfectly balanced, and intricate. They arise from an infinite wisdom that sees the whole picture, that understands the complex interplay of causes and effects, motivations and consequences, in a way that we, with our limited perspectives, simply cannot. To say God's judgments are like the great deep is to acknowledge that while we might not always understand his ways or his timing, they are imbued with a perfect wisdom and justice that extends far beyond our immediate sight. There is an inherent, divine logic to his workings, even when it appears opaque to us. It means that there is a purpose, an ultimate sense, to even the most challenging circumstances we face. His judgments are not arbitrary. They are deeply rooted in his perfect character, flowing from his Hesed and his righteousness. This understanding can be profoundly reassuring when we find ourselves grappling with situations that defy our human logic, or when we question the why behind suffering or injustice. It reminds us that there is a greater plan, a deeper wisdom at play, and that his ultimate decisions are always just, always wise, always leading towards a redemptive end. So, my friend, we are not adrift in a random, meaningless universe. We are living within a meticulously designed, purposefully sustained divine architecture. A God whose steadfast love spans the heavens, whose faithfulness reaches the clouds, whose righteousness is as solid as the mighty mountains, and whose judgments are as deep and wise as the vast ocean. This is the ultimate security, the profound anchor for the soul that the human heart yearns for, the very antidote to that sense of disconnection we explored earlier. When we recognize these majestic columns of existence, when we grasp the sheer scale and unwavering nature of God's character, we begin to find our true place, our ultimate refuge, our deepest peace. The empty echo of searching gives way to the resounding truth of a God who holds all things together, sustaining them with an eternal love and an unfailing purpose. We've gazed upon the magnificent columns of existence, felt the expansive reach of Hesed, and apprehended the mountain-like righteousness and ocean-deep judgments of God, understanding how this divine architecture provides an unshakable foundation for our lives. We've acknowledged the profound security that comes from knowing a God whose character is so vast and so consistent. But what does this grand cosmic truth mean for us personally, in the everyday tapestry of our lives? How do we move from intellectual understanding to lived experience, from an appreciation of God's greatness to a personal encounter with his goodness? This is where Psalm 36 pivots once more, moving from the panoramic view of God's character to an intimate, almost tender invitation. It becomes a personal beckoning, a call to draw near and partake. The psalm declares, "How precious is your steadfast love, O God! The children of mankind take refuge in the shadow of your wings." And then it reveals the exquisite benefits of this refuge. They feast on the abundance of your house. You give them drink from your river of delights. For with you is the fountain of life. In your light do we see light. Here, my friend, the metaphor shifts beautifully from solid structures to flowing waters, introducing us to what I call the river that satiates the soul, the three currents of blessing. This river flows directly from the divine architecture we just discussed, offering sustenance and satisfaction that the world simply cannot provide. Let's dive into the first current, the refuge of intimacy. More than protection, it is belonging. The children of mankind take refuge in the shadow of your wings. This imagery, deeply rooted in the ancient Near East, evokes the powerful and tender protection of a mother bird shielding her young. It speaks of a shelter, yes, but it is far more profound than just being kept safe from danger. It is a place of profound intimacy, a sanctuary where we are not just protected from the storm, but are protected within it, held securely by a love that is both mighty and tender. In this shadow, fear begins to dissolve, not because the dangers disappear, but because a greater presence overshadows them. It is a space of utter belonging, where every anxiety, every insecurity, every burden can be laid down with absolute certainty that you are seen, you are cherished, and you are utterly safe. This isn't just a physical refuge, it's a soul refuge. It's where the weary find rest, where the broken find healing, and where the lost find their way home. In a world that often makes us feel isolated, judged, or unloved, this shadow offers the ultimate affirmation: you belong here. You are loved here. This is the antidote to the disconnection we felt earlier, the profound sense of alienation that haunts so many. Here, in the shadow of his wings, we are not just safe, we are home. It's the profound comfort of knowing you are part of something infinitely greater, utterly good, and eternally committed to you. Next, we encounter the second current, the river of delights, the saturation the world cannot know. The psalm continues, "They feast on the abundance of your house. You give them drink from your river of delights." This isn't just a trickle, it's a river, overflowing, abundant, inexhaustible, and it's not just water, it's a river of delights. This imagery speaks of profound satisfaction, a deep and abiding contentment that touches every part of our being. This is not the fleeting pleasure the world offers, which often leaves a bitter aftertaste or a deeper craving. This is a divine delight, a spiritual feasting, a saturation of the soul that transcends circumstances. Imagine an inner wellspring of joy that bubbles up regardless of what is happening around you. This is the contentment that comes from resting in God's abundance, knowing that He is enough, that His provision is perfect, and that His presence is the ultimate feast. This river of delights represents the true fartura, the overflowing abundance that the soul hungers for. It's the joy that arises from His presence, the peace that transcends all understanding, the strength that renews us daily. While the world promises happiness through acquisition and external validation, this river flows from an internal spiritual source, providing a deep, resonant satisfaction that external things can never replicate. It fills the voids, quiets the anxieties, and brings a profound sense of enoughness to our spirits. It's a spiritual nourishment that invigorates us from the inside out, offering a kind of inner resilience and a calm assurance that even in the midst of life's demands, our spirits are being deeply satisfied. This is the opposite of the parched ground and the dry wells we discussed. This is the living water that truly quenches our deepest thirst, bringing a vitality that flows into every aspect of our existence. Finally, we arrive at the third current, perhaps the most illuminating of all. In your light, we see our light, the illuminated self-discovery. The psalm culminates with this profound declaration: "For with you is the fountain of life. In your light do we see light." This is the apex of the journey. It's not just that God possesses light, it's that in His light our vision is utterly transformed. It's not merely seeing His light, but through it, we begin to see our own light, our true self, our purpose, our value, our unique identity. The light of God, like a divine cosmic lantern, penetrates the shadows of self-doubt, misunderstanding, and the distorted reflections we've held of ourselves. It reveals us as we truly are, as we were created to be: precious, purposeful, deeply loved. This light doesn't just guide our steps, it illuminates us. It dispels the internal fog that often obscures our own gifts, talents, and inherent dignity. We begin to see our lives, our experiences, our challenges, and our triumphs through a divine lens. This self-discovery, illuminated by God's truth, is deeply empowering. It tells us that our existence is not accidental, that our struggles have meaning, and that our potential is far greater than we could ever imagine on our own. It is the light that reveals clarity, purpose, and profound self-worth, making sense of our journey, healing old wounds and paving the way for us to fully step into who we were made to be. This is not just illumination, it is transformation. It allows us to recognize the divine spark within ourselves, to understand our true identity as beloved children of God, capable of reflecting His light into the world. It is the light that shines on all other truths in our lives, bringing them into sharper focus, providing perspective, and infusing them with meaning. This is the ultimate self-discovery, not found through introspection alone, but through immersion in the illuminating presence of the divine. So, my friend, this river that saturates the soul, with its three currents of intimacy, abundant delight, and illuminated self-discovery, is the very antithesis of the empty echo of disconnection. It flows directly from the heart of the God whose character we've explored, offering not just a temporary reprieve, but a permanent wellspring of life, peace, and purpose. It is here, in these flowing waters, that our deepest thirst is quenched, our true identity is revealed, and our souls find their most profound satisfaction. We've journeyed through the majestic divine architecture of God's character, and then descended into the intimate currents of the river that satiates the soul, discovering the profound depths of His protection, the overflowing delights of His presence, and the illuminating clarity of His light. We've seen how in Him we find belonging, satisfaction, and self-discovery, experiences that stand in stark contrast to the empty echo of disconnection we began with. But now, my friend, the psalm doesn't just leave us marveling at these truths. It extends a hand, inviting us to live this reality, to actively participate in this divine flow, transforming abstract understanding into tangible, daily communion. This brings us to the clamor that connects. Living the source in the everyday. The psalm doesn't conclude with a silent reflection. No, it culminates with a powerful, heartfelt clamor, an earnest appeal. Oh, continue your steadfast love to those who know you, and your righteousness to the upright in heart. Let not the foot of arrogance come upon me, nor the hand of the wicked drive me away. There the evildoers lie fallen. They are thrust down, unable to rise. This isn't merely a passive plea, a whispered request from the sidelines of life. This is, in essence, an active alignment with the will of God, a conscious decision to anchor our lives, our thoughts, and our actions within the framework of His eternal character. It is an invitation for us to become channels, living conduits through which His Hesed, that loyal, unwavering love, and His mountain-like righteousness can manifest not only to us but also through us. Consider the depth of this prayer. Oh, continue your steadfast love to those who know you. This is a recognition that knowing God isn't a static event. It's a dynamic relationship, a continuous journey of discovery and deepening intimacy. It's an acknowledgement that we are dependent on His persistent grace, that His love is not a one-time gift but a constant sustenance, like the perpetual flow of that river of delights we just explored. To ask for this continuation is to consciously choose to remain in that flow, to keep our hearts open and receptive to the divine currents. It's an admission that our own strength, our own understanding, is simply not enough to navigate the complexities and challenges of life. We are asking for a consistent outpouring of His character into our lives, knowing that it is His steadfastness, not our fleeting efforts, that truly sustains us. And then, and your righteousness to the upright in heart. This isn't a demand, but a desire for divine conformity, a longing to reflect His perfect justice and integrity in our own being. It's a prayer for inner transformation, for our hearts to be aligned with His, seeking what is good, true, and just. It acknowledges that human righteousness is often flawed, incomplete, and easily swayed, but His righteousness is unwavering, pure, and perfect. To live the source in the everyday means constantly aspiring to this alignment, seeking to embody His justice in our interactions, our decisions, our very way of being in the world. It is a commitment to living with integrity, guided not by convenience or popular opinion, but by the eternal principles established in His divine architecture. The psalm also includes a plea for protection from the foot of arrogance and the hand of the wicked. This highlights a crucial understanding. Living in alignment with God doesn't magically remove us from the world's challenges, from the presence of pride or malevolence. Instead, it places us under a divine shield, allowing us to stand firm amidst these pressures. This protection isn't an escape from reality, it's an empowerment to face it with courage and faith, knowing that the ultimate victory belongs to Him. The promise that, there the evildoers lie fallen, they are thrust down, unable to rise, serves as a powerful reminder of God's ultimate sovereignty and justice, reinforcing our trust in His overarching plan, even when we witness injustice in the immediate. It anchors our hope in His final triumph, assuring us that all things will ultimately be set right. So where have you been seeking your source of life, my friend? Has it truly satisfied the deepest longings of your soul? Has it brought clarity and light? Or has it left you with more confusion, more restlessness, more of that empty echo? Psalm 36 is not just ancient scripture. It is a living invitation for us to make a conscious choice today and every day. A choice to actively connect to the primary source of all that is good, true, and eternal. This choice is not a one-time event. It is a posture of the heart, a daily reorientation, a spiritual discipline that transforms our entire existence. It's about intentionally plugging into the divine current, rather than relying on our own finite reservoirs or the ephemeral streams of the world. How then can we bring this profound truth into the rhythm and reality of our daily lives? It's simpler than you might think, yet requires intentionality, a consistent turning of the heart towards Him. First, cultivate a moment of reconnection. Begin each day, or find a quiet moment within it, to consciously recall and remember the expansive Hesed of God. Before the demands of the day engulf you, before the worries take hold, pause. Take a deep breath and consciously bring to mind that unwavering, loyal love that extends to the heavens, that faithfulness that reaches to the clouds. Remind yourself that you are utterly loved, completely held and deeply cherished, not because of what you do, but because of who He is. This simple act of remembrance sets the tone for your day, anchoring your spirit in an unshakable truth, providing a reservoir of peace before the challenges even arise. It's like checking in with your ultimate GPS, ensuring your spiritual bearings are correctly set for the journey ahead. Second, actively seek His shelter. In moments of anxiety, when the pressures of life threaten to overwhelm, or when doubt creeps in, consciously and deliberately place yourself under His wings. This isn't just a poetic idea, it's a spiritual practice. It means turning to Him in prayer, confessing your fears, entrusting your burdens, and seeking His comfort. It means immersing yourself in His Word, letting His truth speak directly to your heart, reminding you of His promises and His presence. Whether it's a quick silent prayer in the midst of a busy day, or a longer time of devotional reading, these acts are conscious decisions to engage with the refuge of intimacy we discussed. They are practical ways of accessing that safe haven, of letting His peace guard your heart and mind against the turmoil outside. It's a deliberate choice to trade your heavy burdens for His light yoke, to find rest for your weary soul in His comforting embrace. And finally, actively walk in His light. Ask God to illuminate your steps, your decisions, and your understanding, allowing His light to reveal your true purpose and guide your path in every area of your life. This is a prayer for clarity, for wisdom, for divine perspective. It's an invitation for His light to shine not only on your path but through you, revealing your inherent worth and guiding you into the unique calling He has placed upon your life. When we walk in His light, we begin to see the world not through the distorted lens of our own biases or societal expectations, but through His perfect, transforming truth. This enables us to make choices that align with His will, to speak words that reflect His love, and to live a life that truly bears His imprint. It is through this continuous walking in His light that we continue to see light, to discover more about ourselves, our purpose, and the divine plan unfolding around us. It is the ongoing self-discovery, always illuminated, always guided, always refined by His perfect truth. This constant engagement, this intentional living of the source in the everyday, is the true culmination of Psalm 36. It transforms us from passive recipients of grace into active participants in a divine story, individuals whose lives become living testaments to the boundless love, unwavering faithfulness, and illuminating light of God. It is here, in this daily clamor and connection, that the empty echo of disconnection is forever silenced, replaced by the resonant, life-giving symphony of His presence. My friend, we have journeyed together today through a landscape both stark and breathtaking. We began by confronting the unsettling reality of the empty echo of disconnection, that subtle self-deception and spiritual blindness that can leave us feeling adrift, perpetually seeking yet never truly finding. We acknowledged the parched ground of a soul yearning for something more, something real and lasting, a thirst that the fleeting pleasures of this world can never truly quench. It was a necessary starting point, for only by truly recognizing our deepest longings can we appreciate the profound answer. From that place of stark honesty, we lifted our gaze to behold the magnificent divine architecture of God's character, understanding that His steadfast love, His Hesed, extends to the very heavens, His faithfulness reaches to the clouds, His righteousness stands as mighty as the mountains, and His judgments are as deep and wise as the great ocean itself. We discovered the unshakable pillars upon which the universe is built, a foundation of truth and unwavering goodness, that offers ultimate security and an anchor for the soul amidst any storm. This wasn't merely an abstract concept. It was an invitation to recognize the cosmic scale of a God who actively sustains and cares for all creation, including you. Then, we plunged into the intimate, life-giving currents of the river that satiates the soul. We spoke of the profound refuge of intimacy, finding shelter not just from danger, but belonging and comfort in the shadow of his wings, a place where fear dissolves and peace takes root. We tasted the refreshing, abundant flow of the river of delights, discovering a spiritual saturation that the world, with all its promises, simply cannot replicate. A deep, unshakable joy and contentment that springs from his very presence. And finally, we saw the illuminating truth that, in your light we see light. Understanding that his divine illumination doesn't just show us the way but reveals our true selves, our purpose, and our inherent worth, allowing us to step into who we were truly created to be. This was a movement from mere existence to abundant life, from confusion to profound clarity. And just now, we embraced the reality of the clamor that connects, living the source in the everyday. We understood that Psalm 36 is not meant to be admired from a distance, but to be actively lived, to be incorporated into the very fabric of our daily existence. We recognize the power of an active alignment, a conscious choice to seek his continued Hesed, his righteousness and his protection, transforming us into conduits of his grace in a world that desperately needs it. We talked about the practical, powerful steps of daily reconnection, seeking his shelter, and walking in his light, understanding these as not just spiritual exercises, but as foundational practices for a life of sustained peace, purpose, and profound impact. It is through this continuous engagement, this intentional living of the source, that the empty echo of disconnection is forever silenced, replaced by the resonant, life-giving symphony of his abiding presence. So, my friend, from the empty echo of disconnection to the vibrant fullness of his presence, from the bewildering darkness of uncertainty to the guiding light that reveals life and profound purpose. This journey through Psalm 36 has been an ancient, yet incredibly timely invitation, a heartfelt call to drink deeply from the inexhaustible fountain that is God himself. This fountain is always flowing, always accessible, always ready to satisfy your deepest thirst, to illuminate your path and to anchor your soul in his eternal love. It's a wellspring that never runs dry, a source of all true life, all true joy, and all true understanding. If this journey through Psalm 36, these words of ancient wisdom, have resonated deep within your spirit, if they have illuminated a forgotten corner of your heart or sparked a new sense of hope within you, then I invite you to show your support, not just for this message, but for the truth it represents. Consider leaving a like on this video. Think of it as your digital amen, a quiet affirmation that this truth matters, that it has touched you. It's a simple gesture that helps this message reach more hearts that are also searching, more souls that are also thirsty. And if you know someone, a friend, a family member, anyone in your life who might be feeling that empty echo of disconnection, who is searching for light in their own darkness, or who simply needs a powerful reminder of God's steadfast love, I urge you, my friend, to share this video with them. You never know how a single message, shared with intention, can be the very catalyst for change, the glimmer of hope someone desperately needs to find their own way back to the inexhaustible fountain. Let's work together to spread this liberating truth, to extend this invitation to more people. If you desire to continue exploring these profound spiritual truths, to keep plumbing the depths of God's Word, and to grow alongside a community of fellow seekers, then I warmly invite you to subscribe to this channel. And do not forget to activate that little bell notification so you never miss our next explorations of the Word. Together, we can continue to grow on this journey of faith, of discovery, and of transformation, learning and walking hand in hand. Finally, I genuinely want to hear from you. Your voice, your reflections, your insights are invaluable to this growing community. Please take a moment and leave your comment below. Tell me, which part of Psalm 36 resonated most deeply with you today? What does that concept of light, or the fountain of life, mean to you personally, right now, at this very moment in your life? Let's build a vibrant community of faith and reflection, sharing our journeys and strengthening one another in the process. May the peace that transcends all understanding, the light that illuminates all darkness, and the abundant, overflowing joy of the inexhaustible fountain that is God Himself overflow in your life, today, tomorrow, and forevermore. Amen.